Hello there, welcome to my show, Catch the Pulse with Rodney. Y'all know who I am, and I got a very special guest today, one of the finest DJs in the city of Detroit. Please welcome Steve the Kid Kostan. Hi Steve, how are you, sir?
It's great to be here.
Oh, I just love to see you, man. It's great to see you too, man. What's going on in your world?
I'm still doing some stuff for PBS every once in a while, Channel 56.
Okay.
When they need classic rock old guy to come in and
Oh, you're not that
and
old.
tell me why, Joining us now from Detroit Rock Radio, Steve Kostan. Steve, tell us why the Stones are cool.
Oh, no.
Okay, so then I go into my thing. I'm basically talking about the same bands I've been talking about since for 50 years on the radio.
You've been on for 50 years, haven't you?
Well, it was about 50 years ago when I started. I've been off the radio for a couple of years now.
Yeah. You started, what radio station did you start at in Detroit?
WABX in the summer of '77.
Wow, that brings back some memories,
Yeah.
man. You've bounced around quite a bit, though, in your long career, though, haven't you? You've done a few different radio stations.
Ideally in radio, you want to stick, to one place. It's kind of, some guys have got like 20 stations in their resume and stuff.
Right.
I think there's like 5. When I first started, I jumped around because, you're at the bottom and you're trying to move up, so it makes sense. So it was ABX for about 21 months. W4 for the entire year.
I remember W4, yeah.
79 is when the new music was starting to come in.
Yeah, man, they had W4 Quad, wasn't it? Something like that?
It was before I got there. It was just back to stereo by 79.
Okay.
But that's when a lot of the wave and the new music was coming in with the Knack and the Romantics, and the scene was kind of adding a new wrinkle to it, and so it was a good time to be there.
Uh-huh.
And then back to ABX at the end of 79 for about 20 months. And then 81, around August, is when I went over to Riff.
Okay.
And then between Riff and CSX, that they were like 34 years combined.
Wow.
Riff was, there first, and then at a certain point in the mid-90s, Riff got bought by another company that owned CSX, and they moved me to the senior division. Yeah.
Okay. How was it working alongside with some of the big guns in radio, such as Podell and Arthur and stuff? How did you guys get along?
Pretty good. When I first got to ABX, Doug and I weren't really on the radar yet in the mid-70s, but Jerry Lubin and Dennis Frawley was there. And so those guys were, legends already.
Right.
And then when I got to W4, that was one of the reasons I made that move, because I had all these legends. Karen Savelli was there too. I have all these big names ahead of me, and I'm like the new guy trying to find an opening. It's like a basketball team. There's only a few slots.
Right.
So I went to W4. They had Sky Daniels and Mark McEwen, but they were kind of like unknown. They weren't from really around here, and it was. And then Sky left a few months later, and all of a sudden I was on 6 to 10 full time on W4 and beating the other stations. So
How did you adjust? How did you adjust?
With vivid enthusiasm. I mean, I was totally in it. That was just the great.
You were right in your spot.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Steve the Kid Kostan?
Arthur stuck me with that when I went to Riff.
Okay.
Because I was the only one of that group, that ABC Dream Team they put together. They were doing the same thing in Channel 7. So when they got John in Maryland.
Yeah.
And they got somebody else, I think Eli off of somewhere. And their whole slogan was, we got the people you wanted. So we put together this great team.
Oh, right.
So that was Channel 7. Across the driveway on the same property was Riff, and they kind of went, they had to kind of get caught up to what was starting to happen in the late 70s, early 80s, so they had to juice the lineup a little bit. And, so they did the same concept, and we got who you wanted, so they had the, making that team was really key.
Yeah, man.
To lasting too.
So you have sowed your oats in the city of Detroit, that's for sure.
Completely, I never left town.
Yeah.
And that was always the dream. Detroit was like the number 6 market when I started. It's gone back further, but I never had to bounce out to these different markets or something. And which was great, because Detroit was, rock and roll, baby, that's what you want.
I hear you. That's
where I'm
great.
from, so it was easy, it was
Detroit,
fun.
Motor City, rock and roll, man. And
So Art gave me the kid thing, because those guys were all like, I always tease them, I was the only one from this team that was born during the Eisenhower administration. You guys were born, Johnson and Calvert and Kieran were born during the Truman administration.
Right.
And when Arthur was born, Roosevelt was the president.
oh man, that's
Teddy.
Wow.
No, that was a joke. Teddy was 1905 or something.
But JJ's into a lot of politics. He moved down to Florida, didn't he?
I think so. He retired. He
Yeah.
always played golf. He was a high school golfer, and he's a really good golfer.
Is
actually.
he?
Yeah.
When I worked at WRF for a very minuscule amount of
Yeah,
time.
he helped out in the research department.
Yeah.
Music research, I remember that.
Yeah, it was fun, man.
Yeah.
First day I walked in there, I seen Arthur. He was on the air, and I seen him from his back of his head, and he was doing his thing on the radio, and I felt really honored, man. And I've become friends with so many of you DJs over the years. You guys have all been so cool to me, man. And you've come to my parties. You've got up, and even when we lost a good friend of ours back, shit, it's probably been 20 years now. Norm, you and Annie were there, and it's just like, we all become family, man. Even though we don't see each other for a long time, you're only like 2-3 miles from my house now. We're gonna start doing some stuff together now.
Yeah, I saw you had your first bonfire of the season.
Yeah,
so
man, I love
into the groove, man.
Yeah, I love my backyard, my animals, man. And but let's see now. You are one of the finest guitarists, and you're very humble about it. And you're a historian about guitars too, aren't you?
Well, see, we're in Detroit though, so it's all relative, and we're surrounded by massive talent.
Sure.
And a lot of pros.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
one of which is behind the camera here today.
Yeah.
So
Charlie
I
Blau.
mean, it kind of we had a band in like '66 when we were like 12,
Mm-hmm.
but all those songs were great songs for younger kids to play, like dun, 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 dun. Yeah, you get through, Gloria and Last Time and Satisfaction. You could get together a room full of like 12 or 13-year-olds and make some
Good
some
music,
noise.
yeah.
You could rap, you didn't have to be a virtuoso. It was fun.
Right.
So that was easy, but then once Woodstock and Alvin Lee and Santana and Hendrix showed up, it was like, I can't, what.
Who was one of your inspirations for picking up the guitar, and how old were you when you started playing?
Well, I probably started playing before the real over-electrified Marshall amp guitars showed up. Because, with the Beatles and the early Stones and stuff, they didn't have any that really, they weren't using feedback and overdriving the guitars like they got Jim Marshall created that monster, and that kind of had a lot to do with it. But so there wasn't like a hero. I mean, George Harrison or the Keith Richards. Those early songs were just kind of there was some great leads on some Kinks songs, but I couldn't get around that. I was basically playing bass in this band because the two guys, Bob and Rob, my classmates in school, were much better guitar players, and Bob even had a Gibson. At that age, holy! So I played bass. I borrowed his brother's Silvertone, or I played my own guitar just on the bass strings with adjustments.
How old were you when you got started playing guitar?
12, around there. And the new song, the newest and the hardest one that I couldn't get the riff was Day Tripper. That was a little too much, so Bob said, okay, bass, you just play this, and he showed me like a little abbreviated bass line that I could play, so that was kind of fun, but I gave up after Woodstock and stuff and didn't even get the guitar back in my hands till mid-70s, Dave Edwards.
You along with Dave Edwards and whoever was playing at the Token or the studio that night would all end up at my house. And sitting on the couch, somebody would pull out a guitar, and you guys would play until the sun came out the next morning. What great times. I gotta ask you, Steve, a question for Charlie Block. What about doing a CD with the Steve Kostan band? He's wanted to get that together with you forever.
He's been trying to get me to do that for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why not, man?
It's, I'd have to really, if people play, if they don't play guitar but they play golf, they can kind of relate to the fact that, you know, you'd have to almost like reconstruct your game. It's kind of like finding a rusty car in the barn, and I'd have to, you know, refurbish my plane. But you know, you sometimes that's good when you don't play for a while because you have a different and fresher approach. But the reason I kind of got it back into it is when around '78, a lot of this punk and wave stuff came out, and they were like simpler songs again. You know, I didn't have to keep up with, you know, Yes or ELP or something like that. It was more back to like simpler, the romantic stuff. You know, you could play that, and it was fun. And so it was kind of the time to pick it up again. And then, you know, besides sitting in once in a while with in a bar night, you know, some easy song they'd find for me near the end of the night. I think the Bruiser Band showed up at Riff, you know.
Oh my!
They had that, and so you know, Pasman goes, "You play a little bit. You want to do this thing? We're going to do, you know, 3 songs at Pine Knob with this Motor City thing we're playing.
Okay.
So, but we're going to get a nice slot, and we got 15 minutes of fame, you know.
Oh wow!
Mayhem. So that was cool. That was our first gig at Pine Knob that night.
Oh my goodness!
September '81. Yeah, talk about being spoiled.
Oh man!
We used to do a lot of shows, including the one at Rocket on the River, and get up with such celebrities. It just blows my mind, along with Eddie Layton and some other musicians. Tell us how that all went, and how did it feel to get up and play in front of thousands of people watching?
And you know, there'd be about 5,000 to 8,000 people.
Yeah, how is it to be up on stage with all them people looking at you? You get stage fright at all?
No, you just trying to make sure you can hear yourself, and you know, why isn't this or that, or you know, depending on, you know, this, you know, I don't have enough room up here. You know, I mean, I'm just worried about, you know, delivering the thing at that point. I've done it enough, you know.
You have, man.
You know, I got my own rig and stuff, so it's always a lot nicer when you can
just walk in and play.
And play your own gear too.
Yeah.
I mean, again, another golf analogy is if you go somewhere on vacation, you rent clubs and you just go out there and stink. You know, because they're not, you know, the ones that you're just used to where everything is and your settings. And
you also got up with local bands and introduced them at the Token Lounge as well as the studio on the east side and all kinds of stuff. Man, you were a staple in the city.
I jam with Romantics down at the riverfront whenever we've had them there. And, you know, again, it's right in my wheelhouse. And, you know, when you got a kick-ass band surrounding you, you just got to just, you
step
know,
up your game.
You know, when you step up, and then, but also, you know, drop back into the mix when it's time, and make sure you stop when everybody else stops. That's why I gave up drums. I took drum lessons when I was in the 2nd grade. But on that practice pad, I would always, you know, you're going along and you're in your little groove, and then everybody else has stopped, and it's like, you're still. It's like, this ain't working.
You never liked the drums after that?
I just didn't. I wasn't any good at it.
Yeah.
So tell me, Steve, what was some of the biggest interviews that you did while you were a DJ at WRAF?
Maybe Bowie. Because it just went really well. It's the only thing that I have up on SoundCloud. We talked live on the radio for 15 minutes at 6:15 at night, which is ungodly long. But he was he was huge by 1990. And we talked about how he discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, and because he was on that Let's Dance album. You know, it basically. It was ironic because Stevie Ray Vaughan was also in town that same night while Bowie was playing the Palace. Stevie Ray was at Pine Knob, you know, and so I didn't know. That's fantastic. And we talked about that, and he knew a lot about. We talked about Soupy Sales because he had
my God,
he had Hunt and Tony Sales in his band Tin Machine, so he was familiar with those guys. And that's their dad. So we talked about that and a couple other things. That one went really well. I had a really good one with Robert Plant. In '85, Jimmy Page. In '95, he was going to, with David Coverdale, he was going to do that tour. So I interviewed those two guys over the phone. That was, you know, another really good one. Ringo on the phone as well.
And No Podell was very big on the Beatles.
The key to interviewing guys is in the first minute or two, you got to convince them you're not some broadcasting dweeb just out of
like me,
a broadcast school or something, you know. You know, I had seen these guys so many times. It was real easy just to go in there and talk with them because, you know, I got into radio kind of late, but I had seen all those guys, and you know, there was just many other ones. I can't.
Any cool backstage
John
stories?
Entwistle.
Any cool
Well, there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, a lot of it's,
Can't talk about.
A little bit. Well, like I said, our buddies, and as you are, Joey Gatos and the guys, they won the band contest that year. They got to open for the Whiplash Bash, which
right.
Riff was hosting that year.
Okay.
It had to be around 92-ish.
Okay.
And Ted did have a buffalo backstage.
That's crazy. He told me that before.
There was
we came
somebody
out
with
here.
him and stuff, but I mean, they are, if you've ever been to Yellowstone, you ever stood next to one or
They're
near one,
gigantic.
and they're fast, so you gotta watch it, they gotta,
What in the world was he thinking, man?
Well, I don't know, he had done it many times, and apparently, who knows, I mean, been, whatever I'm having, what he's having, he looks really calm.
Yeah,
so give me a little bit of that buffalo.
Oh my God.
He used to come up on stage in a loincloth and a bow and arrow on his back.
Yeah, he was a great interview. Peter, you end up kind of like almost picking up his cadence and his lingo. You start talking a little bit like that if you get around him too much.
Sure.
And the other one was like an automatic. And one New Year's, I was working for Arthur on New Year's afternoon, Eve. And so I had Peter Wolf 1 hour and I had Ted Nugent the next hour.
Oh man.
Those guys interview themselves.
I can imagine.
You just throw a little thing out there.
And
It's almost like you with me.
Yeah. No, that's good. I don't have to do much work. I'm new to this.
So tell me, man, how does it feel to be the interviewee instead of the interviewer?
Good. But I've done, I think that was the one we had, because we had Wolf at the, there's been you get them mixed up. He did a couple of New Year's Eve shows at the Ritz.
Peter Wolf.
And packed the place. Yeah, Peter, a couple of years in a row, that was kind of insane. But then remember the J. Giles band got together and played at Palace on New Year's Eve, and the Romantics opened for him. So I was at that. Yeah, it was pretty. It was the year the 2000 came in.
Wow.
So there's just been, and of course the Romantics guys I've had on the radio millions of times, and the Aerosmith guys I kind of met them before I got into radio. So I had interviews with Aerosmith when I was in college.
Ronnie Bachman and me go back a long time. He introduced me to Steven Tyler. He's no longer with us, sadly enough. But yeah, I got to meet Steven Tyler at the Troy Hilton after a show. Ronnie got me to meet him. Picked out of a group of people in the hospitality room by this gigantic bouncer named Tiny and told me to follow him. So I got in the elevator and he said, when the elevator stops, just get out and start walking. So I did, and this little guy walked up to me with his hands in front of his face and then passed me by, and I turned around because I got a little tap on my shoulder, and it was Steven Tyler staring me right in the face. He said, "Hey man, are you Rodney?" Because his voice was all blown out from singing all night. I walked into the room and he offered me a beer out of the cooler, and I graciously accepted it and sat down in a lounge chair and spilled the whole freaking beer in my lap. And he didn't laugh or nothing. His seamstress that does all his stage clothes was sitting on the bed sewing and asked me to take off my clothes, and she would give me a robe and send my clothes down to a hospitality to have clean. I graciously said no, but man, it was the most embarrassing thing. And then Joe Perry knocked at the door, and when Steven opened the door, he came in, and what a great couple of guys just to sit and talk with. And I ended up staying until the wee hours of the morning with Steven, and it was just a wonderful experience, and it was all thanks to Ron Bachman. But man, I got to meet him and talk with him on a one-on-one. So sadly, Ronnie Bachman passed away about 5 years ago, and I thought I would let Steven Tyler know, so I got on the social media because Steven Tyler just took a liking and a loving to Ronnie Bachman and Ronnie's daughter. He had so much memorabilia from Steven, and I got to meet him. I was very blessed. But Ronnie's no longer with us, so I tried to get a hold of Steven Tyler and got on his social media, and he's got all these pages that are not him, but there's fake pages up there. So I did get in contact with a woman, said she would actually get the message to Steven Tyler. so I never heard anything after
Oh,
that.
no, well, we found him. He was in Hawaii. I called,
Oh, you did?
Johnny Bianelli is there.
Let him know?
And he told him, and then he goes, yeah, Steven's in Hawaii, and he got a hold of him. That's how the flowers got sent.
Oh.
I went to saw them in the summer of '75 at one of those World Series of rock.
Okay.
Aerosmith was just exploding with the Toys in the Attic
Right,
album, became
right.
like, even bigger now.
Uh-huh.
And they were still third on the bill. It was Rod and his band, and Ronnie Wood was still with him. He was doing double duty with the Stones that tour.
Oh, wow.
And then he was Uriah Heep, and then Aerosmith and a couple other bands. Afterwards, we were all in that hotel. There was a Holiday Inn that was walking distance from the old Cleveland Stadium.
Okay.
And there was different things going on in different rooms. But I went down to the stairwell. In the stairwell, there was about 6 kids sitting around in kind of like one of the landing, and Steven was sitting there talking to these like fans.
No
They were all
way.
like high school age and younger than me. I was already 22 or something.
Okay.
They were younger kids, but he was just like sitting there hanging out with them for a while.
Isn't that cool, man?
He's definitely like that. Troy Hilton, they played Pine Knob in
Yeah.
'84 when I was there, and I was in a room with Ronnie and my friend Big Bill Greenhoff, God rest his soul too.
Okay.
So Steve and Joe come in, and we're just kind of hanging out. We're on the 3rd floor of that Troy Hilton, and we were out on the balcony for a minute. And,
Dude, I swear, that's when I went to that show.
it was probably after this, because we were there, and some listeners, I was out on the balcony with Joe and Steven, and some listeners had these cardboard things. It was the latest album cover, and so they were like, hey, can you sign this? And they're going to pass it up. But we're on the 3rd floor,
Right.
so you can't, it's too far.
Sure.
And so as I was about to say, now we can't, he's already over the railing and monkeying down to
You're kidding
the
me.
second balcony, like right underneath it,
Oh my
reaches out,
goodness.
grabs it, climbs back up, and then and he signs it, and then Joe signs it, and the kid goes, hey Steve, will you sign it too? And my buddy Bill goes, they both looked at you like, okay, cool, listen. So I signed
how
it.
incredibly
But when
cool.
When he started to go over the railing to monkey on down to the next floor, I thought, he's gonna die right in front of me.
Oh,
this
my
is insane.
goodness,
What's
right.
he doing? Climbing out. But he was always a climber like that. One time we were up in Charlevoix with the late great Steve Fortney and another buddy, and we saw him at Castle Farms.
Right.
Actually, right around that same time. And so we were hanging out at this Holiday Inn in Petoskey after they had played there.
Okay.
And so we're kind of like outside just having a few beers, and Steven comes out, and fortunately he's in his stocking feet. I just had a new Chrysler Laser, which is similar to Dodge Daytona.
Yeah.
Well, I had it a couple months. He walks out, steps on my hood, steps on the windshield, gets up on the thing, and goes,
Fell flat backwards.
did a backflip and lands perfectly on the grass.
Oh my
It happened so fast I couldn't even tell him to get the blank off my car.
Right.
But he had the socks on it, and no harm, no foul. And,
Wow.
30 years later, I got a great story out of
Oh,
it.
that's
40
awesome.
years.
Yeah.
So
man.
there's been a few with those knuckleheads, and we just saw Tom Hamilton, the bassist, was at the Token in the summer of 25.
I remember.
And it was fun because I got to introduce those guys. The scheduled host couldn't make it, and John Anton asked me if I brought him.
John's a great
Can you bring him
guy.
on? Hell yes.
Yeah.
And you have introduced so many local bands at my old hangout, the Token Lounge, as well as the studio and bars on the east side. And you've always been so gracious and personable to get to know, and our friendship goes on for 40 years.
I was out there a long time doing that, One of the really good ones over there too was Ronnie Wood, when he toured and actually played at the Ritz in around Thanksgiving of '92.
No way.
And so I did an interview with him on the phone from the thing, and before the concert there was Joe Scroy had a teen thing going on.
I remember
and they
that.
had a DJ, and then they would clear these guys out when the rock guys came in,
Okay.
so he could make money on that, and the DJ was Kid Rock. It was,
You're
it was
shitting me.
1992.
Oh my goodness.
So, I didn't meet him that night, and I didn't
Have you
know
ever
him.
met him? Have you ever?
Well, yeah, I've met him since, but
Yeah.
not, back then, I was like, yeah, get these kids out of here. I got the guy from the Stones on the phone.
That's
You know?
crazy.
So, I brought those guys on, and we had kind of met him a lot. He had an assistant that was from around here,
Okay.
Chooch McGee, and so Chooch always took care of me. So after the show, I went up there, and he introduced me to Ian McLaughlin, and hey Mac, this is Steve. He's our radio guy in Detroit.
Oh my goodness.
And then I told him I had seen some of his artwork when I was in Boston seeing the Stones in '89. I went to an art show on Newberry Street where all his stuff was there. And he does a lot of great pencil stuff
I
as
didn't
well.
know that.
It was killer. It's all this stuff. And I told him about it, and I said, I kind of wanted to buy some, but I didn't get around to it. Oh, I got a new catalog out. Would you like to see it? I saw it. It was like CD size with all these things in there.
Right.
Would you like to have it? I said, sure, I'll take it. Would you like me to sign it?
Oh my
And I was like, man,
goodness.
is he gonna shine my shoes next to Ronnie Wood has always just been such a cordial guy.
No way. How about
Keith?
Yeah, Keith. How's he?
I've met him a few times at these meet and greets, but at those, you're limited with the time you get with an artist because there's so many people around sometimes,
Okay.
depending on those, they'll get into group number 3, come on in, and
Oh,
so
it's
you
kind of
got about
planned.
3 minutes to,
Get
to
out.
make your impression.
Oh.
And so, it's a little organized in that aspect. That's why doing an interview is cool because you're actually sitting down, you're kind of almost directing the artist.
Yeah,
So
like
I'm
me.
going to talk about this, that, and just follow my lead. And they're musicians, so they know how to do that.
That's how I get when I interview somebody like you at this caliber. I just let you lead and go and go and go.
Well, yeah, and then, if you have a flat spot, then you can refer to your notes or something
Sure.
like that. But
I haven't looked at him one time yet. It's
Conversation,
just
yeah.
going good, man.
Have you ever gotten to meet Rod Stewart?
Yeah, I have.
How was that?
It was brief. It was at the Townsend Hotel. Well, actually, once in '75, I was backstage at a Rod show, and I was back in the dressing room with Chooch, helping him with something.
Chooch, I remember that guy,
And
man.
we start walking out because it's about to. They had just gone off. They were going to start encores. So I'm walking, out of the dressing room area back towards the stage.
Okay.
And in comes Rod. He was wearing that kind of like a full-length striped kind of bodysuit,
Yeah,
jumpsuit thing. It was
yeah.
back in those days.
Yeah, with the hair.
But he was walking with somebody from the crew and really just chewing his ass out.
Oh no.
So it wasn't the time to go, hey, Mr. Stewart, let's go. He was getting ready to go back out, but something wasn't right. So he was, ripping into the guy. And then the other time was at the Townsend Hotel after a Rod Stewart gig in the late '90s, and I just said a brief hi, how are you? When I happened to be going into the men's room and he was coming out.
Oh.
I was a little overserved, so I just kind of said, hey, Rod, nice to meet you.
I got you.
You got the,
Not to make things.
No, I was anything more than 30 seconds, so I would have blown it.
I get you. That's how
I had to yank myself out of
So yeah, I know exactly how you feel, Steve. I had kind of the same similar situation. I had a birthday party for myself at the Token Lounge, and it just turned out that Mitch Ryder was playing, and I wanted to meet him, and I was starstruck. I really wanted to meet him for a long time. And so when I finally got to meet him, I was just spewing diarrhea out of my mouth, and I had to back off and take myself out of the situation before I embarrassed myself any farther. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
first. Like
Did you ever meet him at the studio? He showed up for one of my, I remember I was doing those Steve Kostan celebrity jams. I did a handful of those.
I
babies.
remember those. No,
That was a great night. One night, he got up and he had his band with the bass player. Johnny B was playing drums at that night. And then Mark Dujon and Mitch and Billy Cernitz was the keyboard player.
Okay.
And me and McCarty sat in.
Oh wow.
Because Gillespie wasn't there, and Jimmy, and a couple of songs that I knew how to play, and whenever I play, he always kind of looks over me and kind of, shows me.
Yeah.
He calls me Stevie,
Stevie?
It's like he's the only one that, Calvin did a little bit too, but we did a couple of songs, including, I think it was Jenny Take a Ride, and another song called Sugar Babe, which Steve Miller also did. You know, it's pretty standard progression, stuff I can get into it.
Right.
And when you're watching McCartney for about a half an hour before you get up there, somehow you just play better, you know?
Isn't that awesome?
But
man?
you steal half his stuff, but you just, you know.
Even Steven.
Yeah, a little bit, you know, or borrow, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a real great night too. And remember that one night when Nugent came up? It was
I do. Oh my
I think
God.
it was Something Wild. It won the
Yeah.
best band contest that
Yeah.
year. It was the first one.
Yeah.
And there was a Stoli Rocks to Russia
Those
promo.
were great shows, man.
Ted got up and played, and those guys ended up going to Moscow, and they were there
I didn't know
when that coup d'etat almost happened. Remember, the communists tried to take back over, and there was
don't
tanks in the Red Square. They're on the phone with Drew and Mike. And
Holy
saying,
mackerel.
I could see some tanks over on the other side of the square. Our guys were there,
Oh.
our band, right when all that stuff was going down. But
Oh shit.
it was pretty wild.
I see that Mitch Ryder, he's coming, isn't he starting to do something again? I seen
He
something
probably
on
plays
Facebook.
around. You know, he's getting up there.
Yeah. Have you been in contact with Arthur?
Not too much in the last few months.
No kidding. How's he doing though?
He seems to like he's doing okay. I haven't laid eyes on him in a couple of
Yeah,
years.
I seen something on Facebook. His
It's
wife,
weird when people get older; they just kind of this
Disappear.
ghosting stuff. But people got to knock that shit off because it's you know, I mean,
Celebrities.
while we're young, no, I mean our friends are dropping like flies.
I
so,
know,
you
man.
It shouldn't take 2 weeks to call somebody back
No, and I agree.
if they call it off.
So when we first started this, I reached out to a lot of local bands and some local talent, and either it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or no phone call back at all. And I don't have the time for that, you know, at least be cordial.
Within a certain age group, you know, you get
Yeah.
a 30-year-old go, huh?
Yeah, but you
That's
know
all
what?
right.
Yeah, sure, man. But
We're trying to get the new and upcoming bands to be interested in original rock and roll music and bring that flavor back to the city of Detroit, which there hasn't been in quite a long time.
and I don't take anything away from the tribute bands because
Yeah.
you know it's huge and it's huge right now.
Well, I have mixed feelings about that. I
So
didn't
do I.
like that whole thing at first,
Right.
but that was like 15 years ago or
Yeah.
something. You know, they used to call him the Elvis impersonator.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
but the other side of that coin is they keep those songs alive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some magic songs that came
Yes,
out
sir.
during our era.
Yes.
And do you want to hear, you know, do you never want to hear that loud and in your face and played well
Of course
again?
you do.
You know, I mean,
I've done a couple of the tribute bands here at the studio, and one that stands out is the Wrecking Crew. They're a tribute band to Motley Crue. Just a great bunch of guys and female backup vocalists as well, and they pull it off immaculately. They're really a tight-knit band, and I really enjoyed seeing them.
There's a couple other bands that that are eluding me right now, but like Paradise City.
Foreigner. No, as a kid, that was always the rap against them
I
because
know.
they kept losing guys, and then unfortunately, like Mick Jones now has got health issues. He couldn't do the whole set. He's got that great Les Paul tone, and he's got a really good style. It's economic, you know. It's sort of similar to Mick Ralph's, the Bad Company guitar player.
Sure.
They're kind of in that same neighborhood, which
Paul
I
Rogers.
can wrap my head around that. Jeff Beck and Joe Perry,
Yeah.
I can't even think that way.
No, I get it too, but Paul Rogers is my daughter's godfather.
Really?
Yeah. Do you remember Heather from she used to date Big John?
Sure.
That's the mother of my daughter Danielle.
Okay.
And she was raised over in England.
Oh.
And Paul Rogers is
Far
my
out.
daughter's godfather. Yeah. So
Yeah, he's one of the
I
greats.
was watching the Paul Rogers video just out of the clear blue, and for the next week or so at least, I was getting hit with recommendations to watch Paul Rogers. It's crazy how they get into your head and AI takes over and just plays stuff that they think that you want to see or hear. It just boggles my mind.
If you like that, you might like that.
Yeah,
See, that's what I
exactly.
used to do, you know,
Yeah.
kind of, because I stayed away from certain types of music and emphasize other ones that I thought I was lucky enough to be able to do that, you know,
Sure.
and shape my show. because musically they don't really.
What's your favorite guitar of choice?
Which guitar?
Yeah.
My Les Paul.
That's fun.
I got a Telecaster. It's very jangly and good at certain stuff like quarter leads. But as far as actually getting in the box and burning that Paul, plus that gold top, I have a '69 gold top that Steve Fortney gave to me back in the early '90s.
Holy mackerel! You're
Because I was
kidding
talking
me.
about getting a Les Paul to add to, because the jangly guitar thing was like early '80s. And
Sure.
I even tried a Rickenbacker, but that's almost like too small for my hands. It was.
You got some big ones, man.
But whatever, look at B.B. King,
Yeah.
But you can't, so the Telly was like the next best thing, and it's
Okay.
pretty versatile guitar. But around the early '90s, I was talking about getting a Paul, and Forty had several. So he called me. He was on the road somewhere, but it was my birthday, and he said, "I'm giving you a Les
You're
Paul for your
kidding
birthday.
me.
So just do me a favor and take a few more lessons." I was like, "Hey, no problem." So I didn't know whether I should accept it or not. I was
Right.
like, fuck, I can't. So
That's huge, man.
I asked Joey Gatos at the studio one night. We were talking, because he knew Steve as well. I
Sure.
said, here's what you do. You tell him, if you ever need it back, it's yours.
Right.
But
Right.
I promise I won't do anything with it. I'll keep it. And so that was the deal. I'll keep it forever. Unless you need
Sure.
it back, you can have it. So
We just did a show with Joey Gatos last weekend, as a matter of fact, and he's so stoked to play with you and get to see you again. So we're all hoping that you come to our show. If y'all aren't doing anything, June 27th, Saturday, be at Garden City Park. Be there or be square.
yeah, well, it's just been a magic time. Another one I got to note is I did one of the, right after Desert Storm, I put together this thing over at the Ritz with Joe Nieport. And I said, we got to do something for the troops, blah, 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 blah. 'Cause,
Sure.
I didn't want to get on that anti-war kind of thing. Everyone was in it, it was Saddam Hussein, so,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So-
Kind of like now with the with.
Well,
what's
yeah,
going
maybe a
on.
little bit different, but yeah, everyone was behind it. I just wanted to get behind it.
Okay.
So we put together a jam up there, and we had different people playing. At the end of the night, I'm a nervous wreck because it was all pickup bands as we were going along, but it all worked. We had a bunch of people show up.
Okay.
But the last one we have the Rob Tyner,
Oh, what a legend, man.
and he shows up. So it was and Bruce Meekin from Flash Cahan was a pretty good guitarist.
Right, yeah.
It was me, Gillespie, and Bruce hanging around. I can't remember who played drums, but Bruce goes, I'll play bass. Heck, Steve, you just go do it. And I said,
Right
okay.
on.
Motor City's Burning and Back in the USA, the Chuck Berry song.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I can bluff the leads. If it's an E for Motor City's Burning, I've heard it 100 times, but I'm a little vague on the actual riff.
Okay.
And so, again, Joe Kostan, the abbreviated riff, took a couple of notes out, and I could play it really easily and not have to pay attention. I'm up there playing, and have you ever had a bat fly by you at sunset, when it's kind of dark out?
Yeah, I have,
You
actually.
think you saw something, but you're
Yeah.
not sure? I'm playing, and the lights are on. Was that a bat that went by? Something goes by again. I look over, here's Rob Tyner doing that Roger Daltrey thing, swinging that
That's
microphone.
gold, man. That's
Like
gold.
that thing, he's whining, he's doing it good, and it's a foot in front of my face, but no contact is made, because this is the American version of Roger Daltrey. He's the pro of the Western Hemisphere. And it was really cool because I was so amped that night, and that I had my own Paul playing through a Marshall, and those notes just were, that Paul you can grab a note and hold it, go to the John, come back,
It's still ringing.
and it's still there.
Oh my God.
It was just so much fun. And after that, Rob was like saying, "Steve, we ought to make some records." But it was just kind of one of those nights that I really,
Pretty good.
it'd be like if Ray Euler was a real lousy batter in the '68 Tigers, but he had a great glove.
Sure.
But they had to take him out for the World Series. It'd be like if Ray Euler went 3 for 4 and had a home run and 2 doubles. Or
Oh,
something.
man,
it was
that's a
just one
great
of those ones.
scenario.
But many more stories like that. But just what a great ride to get paid doing it.
Sure.
Well, of course, Steve, you've lived the dream, man, and you're still at it. You're doing the new TV thing that you've been doing, and still go out and hang out at the bars and introduce bands and stuff. You're still a big part of the rock and roll scene in Detroit.
I'm still doing the stuff on PBS.
Yeah.
They'll call me when they have a classic rock act. We've had all kinds of cool stuff on that show. Sometimes, I mean, one of them was this thing called the Rock and Roll Circus, which was an old TV show on the BBC that the Stones did with, there was a jam band with John Lennon.
Wow.
And Mitch Mitchell on drums, John Lennon on guitar, Clapton on the other guitar, and Keith played bass. You know, and there was different things on those. We've been involved with some of the really cool ones.
Okay.
Another one about the recording studio, that's an actual several part series that George Martin was kind of hosting.
Okay.
And he was talking about the difference. When I used to record a band, we just try and do like a snapshot, you know, record them live in the studio, set up, ready, steady, go.
Sure.
Whereas now, with all this tracking stuff, we're layering, so it's like I'm working on a painting, but with sound. I can add little stuff here, and then I can add that. On
That's
Tuesday,
amazing.
he's coming in, so it's almost like painting with sound.
It's amazing.
So
what you can do
the stuff on Channel 56 on PBS, I really dig doing it. It's
You
right
like
in
it a
my
lot?
wheelhouse. Oh yeah.
Oh, great.
I worked with Fred for a long time. We started in 2012, so it's been about 14 years.
So tell me, I know you're enjoying your retirement. Let's talk a little bit about it, Steve. What are you doing to keep yourself active these days?
You know, the action, there was always stuff to do, but
So yeah, I get it, Steve. I love my home life. I don't go to the bar that often anymore. I love hanging out on my patio with my animals and just enjoying life, man. I do occasionally still go to the bar, but it's very far and few between, so I totally get it.
well, a little bit. If there's a big night at the Token, that place gets really
So
jumpy.
yeah, I got to hang out with the whole band minus John Bon Jovi, which was sleeping in the next bedroom, but I got to meet and greet with the rest of the band, Tico and everybody, and they all gave me signed copies, 2 copies of each album up to Slippery When Wet. And it just so happened that evening they were having a Toys for Tots at the Studio Lounge. So I acted like Santa Claus and went there and donated all those albums so the kids could have more toys. It really made me feel good, Steve.
I love what I'm doing now, and I think you do too, man.
Half that stuff doesn't fit anymore.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I had some leather
I got
pants
some
on.
leather pants. I know exactly where they are. They're in the basement.
Yeah, man.
If I ever get back to 34s,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and being part of my new project, and I really super appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. After we do the party and you get up and play, we'll probably ask you to do another show with us, and I hope you'll be gracious enough to accept. So, that being said, thank you all for tuning in and watching the interview with Steve, the kid Kostan, and thank you to Pod Pulse Media for sponsoring us, and we'll be back soon. Have a great day.